Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Find Your Way to Vibe. I'm Amber, and I'm really grateful that you're here with me today. Today, I want to talk about creativity, but probably not in the way that most people think about creativity. I think a lot of people believe they aren't creative. They think creativity belongs to artists or musicians or writers. And if they can't paint or draw, play an instrument, or sing, then they must not be creative people. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think if you've ever solved a problem, changed direction, built something from nothing, figured things out when you didn't know what you were doing, or rebuilt your life after something didn't go according to plan, then you've probably been creative more times than you realize. Because creativity isn't just about art. I think creativity is about building something that didn't exist before. And in a lot of ways, we are all doing that with our lives every single day. Before we move any further into today's reflection, let's take a moment to slow down together. Just a moment to breathe and arrive here. So get comfortable wherever you are. Soften your shoulders and take a breath with me. Take a slow breath in and gently let it out. Wherever you are, allow yourself to arrive and walk gently into this space with me. Welcome to Find Your Way to Vibe. So now that we've slowed down a little, I want to talk about creativity, but probably not in the way most people think about it. Because when most people hear the word creative, they immediately go to artists, painting, drawing, music, photography, writing, and there's many other ways to think of an artist. But those are some of the most common that we instantly think of when we think about creativity. And because of that, a lot of people decided somewhere along the way that they just aren't creative. They say things like, I'm not artistic, I'm not creative, and they close the door on themselves without even realizing it. I've done it myself. But the more I've thought about it, the more I've started to believe that creativity is so much bigger than art. It shows up in the way that we solve problems, in the way we build our lives, in the way that we change direction when something isn't working anymore, and in the way that we start over, learn something new, build new routines, and slowly create a life that actually feels like our own. And when you start looking at creativity that way, I feel you start to realize that people are creating things all day long without ever calling it creativity. And that's really what I want to talk about today. Not just creativity as art, which we will still talk about, but creativity as life. One thing that I have been thinking about when it comes to creativity is how much we tend to use the logical side of our brain as adults and how little we sometimes use the creative side. And I feel that it's the complete opposite of when I was a child. When I was a child, I feel like I was more creative. I had more freedom in that aspect. But as I got older, I allowed the logical side of my brain to take over because in the world, I feel like we are taught to be more logical and efficient and productive and to solve problems quickly and just keep moving on to the next thing, which is all important. The logical part of our brain helps us to plan and organize, to budget, to schedule, to build our careers and make decisions. And we absolutely need that. But we also need the creative side, because the creative side is where our ideas come from. It's where our imagination comes from. It's where the unique problem solving techniques come into play and where innovation comes from. It's where new ideas and new paths and new possibilities come from. And I think life works best when we can use both together. The logical side helps us build the structure, and the creative side helps us imagine what we want to build. One without the other can leave us feeling a little stuck or scattered. But when we use both, we can actually imagine a life we want and then build it as we go. I think one of the biggest reasons people don't believe they're creative is because we have defined creativity as a society in a very narrow way. We decided that creativity belongs to artists and musicians and writers and actors, and everyone else just lives life. But I don't think that's true at all. I think that creativity shows up in everyday life in ways that sometimes we don't even notice. Creativity shows up in our cooking and baking, taking ingredients and turning them into something that didn't exist before. With cooking, you can go based on a recipe. You can make it your own. You can create something that no one has before. You can decorate the plates to make the food look beautiful and presentable in a different, unique way. And with baking, there's all kinds of things. There's all these shows today with baking. I don't know specifically what they're called, but there's baking competitions all over TV now because of how creative people get with making cakes or cupcakes or cookies, brownies, whatever it is. And you can make it unique. You can make it look like a character or a structure or anything. So it's it shows up very strongly in the cooking and baking realm of it all. Creativity also shows up in business, building something from a simple idea. And creativity is a constant part of business because you have to constantly come up with new things and be innovative to stay relevant in the world today because of how fast things move. So, yeah, creativity is definitely in business. It shows up in parenting because there's nothing predictable about raising kids, and you're constantly figuring things out as you go, especially because every child is different. Their personality is different. So the parenting, you have to get creative with your parenting because what works for one child may not work for the other. So you're constantly needing to be creative in how you interact with your children. It also shows up in teaching, explaining things differently so someone else understands. There's a lot of incredible teachers who have very unique techniques to teach because they have figured out that the more creative they become with their teaching, it sometimes is easier for others to understand and grasp the concepts of the subject that they're teaching. It also shows up in the way that we budget and organize our everyday lives, the way we decorate our homes, plant gardens, and plan trips. You have to be creative with that. You have to be creative when you're solving problems or building routines that make your life run better. Creativity shows up every time you look at something and think, there has to be a better way to do this. And then you try something different. That's something that I love to do. I love to look at things and think, wow, there's got to be something better I could do. I call it efficiency because I feel like there are more efficient ways of doing things, but you have to get creative when you're going down that path because you have to think outside of the box sometimes and use your creative side of your brain to figure it out, because the logical just isn't cutting it anymore. Creativity also shows up when you start over or you reinvent yourself. It shows up when you decide to build a life that's actually your own. And when you start looking at creativity like that, you start to realize a lot of people are incredibly creative and they just never called it that. For me personally, creativity has shown up for me in a lot of different ways over the years. And I really try to pull the creativity out of me when I'm doing things. And sometimes I don't feel like I am very creative, but it comes and goes in waves depending on what part of my life I'm in or have been in. So when the kids were younger, I would pull my creativity out by doing fun little parties for their birthdays or Halloween. My daughter was big on Halloween, so we would have Halloween parties and I would get creative with the food. I would get creative with the decorations and the costumes and the games that we would play. Same thing for birthday parties. I did a fun birthday party for my son one year because he loves space. So I did a space themed party for him, and I got the moon pies and I did a cake that represented space, and I did different buckets of treats that represented different planets and stuff. So I really enjoyed getting creative when it came to the parties. I did a lot of different things like that. And then as the years went on, my creativity changed. One year we did, for Easter actually, we did egg art. And we were very careful about breaking the eggs. And we would make a hole at the top of the eggs and empty them out and then clean them a little bit. And then we would put paint inside the eggs and we took them outside, had canvases, and we would just throw the eggs at the canvases outside and we made egg art. That was something that was just a fun, creative idea for us to do. It was unique and we wanted to try it, so we did. And it was a lot of fun and memorable because we were just out there being hams, having a good time. So, something to do if you want to go through the tedious action of filling each egg with different colors of paint. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. I'll try and post pictures of some of this on the Instagram page or on the website. So just look out for that. Something else that I really enjoy to do creatively is to make little altars of sorts when I go hiking. I have in the past had spots where I like to meditate or just sit and be with myself. So I will collect rocks and sticks and feathers or whatever I find on the trail, and I make little heart altars, and they're really a gift of gratitude to Mother Earth because I do appreciate the peacefulness that nature gives me. So it's my way of showing gratitude, but it's also a nice little surprise for other hikers that may stop by and see it, and hopefully gives them something positive to think about or gives them an idea to do something similar. So that's something else I like to do with my creativity. Let's see. Flowers. I like to do flower arrangements and make them unique and my own. I love to just do it for the people in my life. I did it for the girls at work a few weeks ago, and I really just enjoy putting things together in a way that look beautiful and feel peaceful in the space that we're in. It's just something that's unique. And on top of that, this podcast is another creative outlet that I never thought would really be as creative as it is. But every episode is something that didn't exist before until I sat down and thought about it and recorded it and shared it. Just the creation of it all, my setup was a part of my creativity. I didn't want to be sitting in an office chair in front of the computer at a desk, still at a desk in front of my computer, but now I have a comfortable space. Since I decided I didn't want the office chair, I went and found me something like this beautiful round comfy chair that I got. I love it. For the audio listeners, you can't see this, but I'll try to explain as best as I can. If not, you can head over to YouTube and watch it so you can see it. But I also have a tapestry hung up behind me that is representative of each season. For the winter season, I had a more wintry background. For spring, I have a wonderful green background. It's of a trail. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a trail with big trees, which is very fitting for me. So that's my current background for spring. But I also have a few things hanging up, like my little bear thing. I'll try and point so there's a wire bear wall ornament that I have up here, as well as a clay stamp hanging totem. That's the best way to explain it. And what it is, I went to San Diego with my mom a few years back, and we went to, it was kind of like a farmer's market, but it had a store that had all these clay stamped ornaments, and you could select what you wanted, and then the lady at the store would put it all together with you and hang a bell at the bottom of it, or however, I mean, you could create it however you wanted to. So when I went in there, I decided to create a family totem per se. So I have a whale at the top that's rectangle, and then below that I have the word love. Below that is a bear stamped symbol. Then the word gratitude below that. Then a turtle. And then the word joy. And then there's a wolf. And then the word balance. So the whale is representative as the family unit. The word love is obviously our family theme. It was just the three of us, so love was very, very big. Then the bear represented me because I love my bears. I then have the word gratitude because gratitude is a big part of our family. Then the turtle represents my daughter because she loves turtles. Then the word joy is another word that represents our family. And the wolf is representative of my son. And then the word balance, of course, the same theme. Our family thrives off those things. So that's what the meaning of that was. And it was fun to create that. That's something that is unique to just me and my family. So yeah, that's my podcast setup. I got to be very creative with all of it, and I really enjoyed doing it that way because it's mine, and I got to do whatever I wanted with it. And that's one thing that helped me push past part of my fear, was to be able to do it in the way that I wanted to and the way that I saw fit for myself. I really enjoy doing that and doing this. Because creativity doesn't always have to be something huge. Sometimes it's just small in ways that we express ourselves and build things, arrange things, the way we write things, cook things, or create things. that make life feel a little more meaningful for ourselves. That's part of my creative journey. I don't do anything in a huge way, but it's all very meaningful to me because I'm creating it. A lot of my creativity was inspired by my daughter. My daughter is very creative. I don't think there's a part of her life that she doesn't have the creativity part of herself in. She is an artist. She likes to paint. She likes to draw. She likes to write. She has her own podcast. She cooks. She bakes. She did school in her own unique creative way. She just really uses the creative side of her brain in all aspects of her life every single day. One of the things that was really cool to watch her create was her junior project in high school. She had to come up with something that could help make the world a better place, I believe, if I remember correctly. And so she decided to do a project called Environmentally Damaged. And it was the notion that the environment that we're in can create our mental attitude. And she combined our love of going to the beach and doing beach cleanups and trail cleanups with her love of art. So instead of making art out of normal materials, she made art pieces out of things that we would pick up during our cleanups. And some of the things that she made, one of them, she did a turtle out of glass and straws. And she also did a recycle symbol out of the bottle caps that we found along the beach and the trails. So those are two examples. She has a few more that she did, but she really went outside the box and created something very unique. And I thought that it was such a great example of creativity because it was combining two completely different things. And that was the environmental cleanups and art, and turning them into something meaningful and something that made people think. And I think that's what creativity often is. It's connecting ideas, it's connecting experiences and turning them into something new and making people think in a new way. And that's something that she really did a good job with. And I will also include some of those photos on the social media pages. So look out for those. And I think sometimes when people hear the word creativity, they think about talent or being good at something or just naturally having it. But I really don't think creativity is about being good at something or just having it. I think creativity is about possibility. It's about realizing that your life is not completely fixed and you can pivot at any time. You can change things. You can try new things and build new routines, learn new skills, change direction at any given time. You can create a different environment for yourself, and you can slowly create a different future than the one you thought you were going to have. And when you start thinking about creativity that way, it becomes a really hopeful idea instead of something that feels intimidating. For me personally, as long as I can remember, I wanted to create my own life and in my own way. I have a quote that I came up with many years ago that I have on my personal social media that states, while everyone is out chasing the American dream, I'll be out chasing mine. And that's how I try to live my life, chasing my own dreams. because not everyone's dreams look the same. Not everyone wants the same life. Not everyone wants the same job, the same schedule, the same routine, the same goals. Not everyone wants to travel to the same places. Not everyone wants to do art. Not everyone wants to drive the same car, live in the same house. It goes on. And that's where creativity comes into life too, because we don't all have to build the same life. We can build a life that is unique to us and our values and our goals and our personality and what actually makes us happy. And building a life that is different from what everyone else expects sometimes takes a lot of creativity and a lot of courage. So when you really start to think about it, we don't just create art, we create our lives. We create our days by the way we spend our time, by the routines we build, by the habits we repeat over and over again. We create our relationships by the way we talk to people and show up for people. We create our environment by the way we set up our homes, our schedules, and the things we choose to surround ourselves with. And over time, without even realizing it, we start creating who we become by the decisions we make again and again. It doesn't happen all at once, and it's not always intentional, but slowly over time, through our choices and how we pivot, we're all creating something with our lives. The only real question is whether we are creating it intentionally or just letting it happen by default. So I want to ask you something, and I don't want you to answer it out loud. I just want you to think about it for a minute. When was the last time you created something? Not something perfect and not something for anyone else, just something you made, built, tried, or started because you wanted to. And it might be worth thinking about what you loved to do when you were younger, what you liked to make or build or draw or try before you started worrying about whether you were good at it or not. And if you stop doing those things, maybe ask yourself why. I also think it's worth asking whether you're creating your life intentionally or if you're mostly just reacting to whatever happens and whatever comes next. Because if your life is something you are creating, even slowly, even imperfectly, then what does it look like right now? And more importantly, what would you want it to look like? Before we close today's episode, I want to take a moment for my favorite segment, Brooklyn Lights the Way, where I like to highlight the people in life who shine their light and make our paths a little bit brighter. And today, I want to recognize the artists and creators and people in my life who inspire me and remind me that creativity comes in many different forms. Not just the people who paint or write or make music, but the people who build businesses, raise families, create opportunities, solve problems, and build lives that are uniquely their own. Because creativity isn't just about art. It's about building something, shaping something, or creating something that didn't exist before. Whether that is a piece of art, or a project, or building a business, or a home, or simply a life. Creativity is everywhere if we're paying attention. And so this is just a small way to recognize the artists and the builders and the thinkers and the dreamers and the people who are out there creating their own unique paths and their own lives in their own way. So I'll leave you with this. You don't have to be an artist to be creative. Creativity isn't just about painting or writing or music. Sometimes creativity is solving a problem, trying something new, changing direction, learning something, starting over, or deciding you want a different life and beginning to make small changes to build it. I think we're all creating something every single day, whether we realize it or not, through our choices, our habits, our routines, our relationships, and the way we spend our time. We are slowly creating our lives. So maybe the question isn't, am I creative? Maybe the better question is, what am I creating with my life? And maybe that's something worth thinking about. As always, thank you for being here and walking a little piece of this journey with me. Until next time, walk slowly, breathe deeply, and remember, you can always find your way to vibe.